guys, it's Magewright here. I am back after all of these years. It's been a while for sure. We're gonna work on doing this next build here. It's a blood raging blasting character that empowers its spells by raging. This kind of sets up for a video a little bit later that I kind of made for an even cooler build. This is one that I've kind of seen kicking around the internet, and I kind of just want to go over it because it sets us up well to go into a video later on down the line here. But we'll take a look at it here. This is Blood Raging Blaster. We're going to use the Meta Magic Raging archetype from Bloodrager to enhance the spells. We still are a Blood Rager at the end of the day, so we do still want some good physical stuff. You could go all in on like being magic based. There is some ways to kind of go around that and be solid. But it is definitely trickier, and I think it's good to kind of have multiple avenues to attack with other than just spells, and especially because early on we really don't have a lot of ways to get more spells, unfortunately. But there is some bloodlines that can kind of help with this a little bit and have some cool powers that can kind of slide into this very well. But yeah, so I mean we can definitely play around with these stats more. We definitely need this 16 charisma though. This is important. Well, you need at least 15, but we might as well take the 16. But I mean, if you're in a game that's only going to go to like level 5 or something, then I mean, yeah, you can do 15 and put a point into it for 16 later to round it up or something. It's not a big deal. Your level ups can go into strength or charisma. It's really dependent on what your build is kind of going for. I think that if you want to go heavy on the casting, obviously you do the charisma. If you're going heavy into strength or attacking, go into strength. We're also going to be swapping out our level 4 power for the Bloodline Mutagen Havoc. These are Bloodline mutations that I don't know if everybody knows about, but this one basically swaps out our level 4 power so that we get a +1/+2 damage on all die rolls with spells. So, if we do, 5 die 4 with the Burning Hands, we now do 5 die 4 plus 5 if we're getting the 5 dice for it. It's very solid. So, why this is also important though is that we're also going to take Flumefire Rage. Flumefire Rage is fantastic. So, what this does is it will increase our damage die by another 2 per die roll. So if we do a Burning Hands at level 5 and we have Havoc as well, then it is now 5 die 4 plus 15. That's some big blasting numbers to definitely increase things for sure, but this can get really crazy with things like Scorching Ray and Fireball and Dragon's Breath and stuff down the line. Especially when we add in our Meta Magic Rager piece, where we sacrifice Rage rounds to put Meta Magics on our spells so that we can slap on Empowers way before even other casters can on some spells. Now, we're also going to be taking, Power Attack at level 1. If you go Human, you can slap something else into here. Definitely lots of choices. You could Furious Focus, Raging Vitality. There's probably other ones I can't think of right this second, but there's definitely a lot of good choices if you go down that route. We're going to take Flumefire at 3, propping us up for 4 when we get into, access to Burning Hands and some stuff like that. And then you can take Empower at level 5. You could push it a little later if you want, but 5 is when we kind of get this build going online and we get Meta Magic Rager so that we can trade out rage rounds for the increasing the spell level by the Meta Magics so that we can, at level 5 we can actually do a Burning Hands and it's pretty good. It's that 5 die 4 plus 15 and then we can 1.5 times that for some pretty big blasts. Obviously this is a lot more impressive once we get things like Scorching Ray or when we get the old powerful Fireball, but those are level 7 and 10, so they are down the line, sadly. Next, I'd recommend getting Rage Caster into there. You could take this earlier as well if you wanted, like at that level 1 thing if you wanted, but I recommend pushing it a little bit. But basically, this bit lets us take damage to increase the DCs of our spells by basically keeping up with the real casters, which is honestly fantastic. Obviously, you're going to want a way to heal yourself if you're doing this. There's numerous ways to go about that. You can have someone in your party just do it for you. You can take some potions. You could take that verdant line that gives you the fast healing. At least I think it's a verdant line, but I can't remember right this second. And then level 9 you can take improved critical on like your weapon, or you can go harder on spell focus, or you can slap in another feat. This isn't as important. Now ideally we're taking 2 more meta magics, and then we're getting to spell perfection because spell perfection requires 3 meta magics on your list. But then we're going to be able to enhance a spell with a meta magic like for free basically. So we can really pump up a spell really well. It also doubles the modifiers for things like spell focus, and if we can weapon focus like a ray spell for a spell, and other little spell benefits. It's very very solid. So I mean I'd probably pick like Fireball or something. That's probably the play. Useful items, you know, you can get some runestones with powers for more spells. This build definitely has a lot of issues with keeping up on spells for sure. Um, Echoing spell helps a little bit with that. Ring of Ancestral Blood Magic can help as well if you have good Bloodline bonus spells. However, we do trade rage rounds to use this, and we already are kind of using this for meta magics with meta magic ragers. So it gets pretty hungry. You can also slap in like extra rage rounds like in here if you wanted, and also you don't have to go down the spell perfection line. Like I said, like if you want to just go like stop here and go like just full martial after this, that's totally viable and it does work just fine. Um, so that's definitely some options. Meta magic rods are great. They also just save on rage rounds because if I get an empower rod and as a Bloodrager, our spells are not very high to begin with, and a lot of our like Fireball's level 3, so we can get away with the cheapest rods in the game, which is, fantastic. So definitely a very solid option to use. We still want like good weapons, as we do melee quite well. Like, I mean, we are a Blood Rager at the end of the day, and we're really only like probably 2 strength behind, like your average Blood Raging build, because I mean a lot of people are going to take an 18 here. Well, like a 16 and then a +2 from the racial. So I mean, like we might even actually still be like right around the right ballpark even. So, and even if we go like lots into charisma and stuff, like we're still going to be quite competent at melee. So, definitely a solid option. And maybe throw Furious on that weapon because that'll enhance it even more when we're raging, and it's just a very efficient way to play the game. Uh, Obviously, we want to go into fire spells because Flumefire, but I mean the Havoc will work on any damaging spell, so it's +1 to other ones as well. But we are definitely fire based, which is a little bit unfortunate because that is the most commonly resisted element in the game. But if we had to, you could definitely, Dragon's Breath Electric or whatever as an example here, or pick some cold spells or other spells throughout the wind. They just don't blast as hard and they don't really get enhanced by the rage. But, well, Meta Magic they would, but your Flume Fire doesn't do anything for them, is kind of what I'm saying. But definitely some pretty crazy stuff that we can do here because if we hit level 10 or whatever, like this fireball is going to do 10 dice 6 plus 30, and then we can empower it for another 1.5 times, which is just that's a crazy amount of damage. And if you pick some good bloodlines, like maybe something that has like a lot of these fire spells in it, then you can also get 3 more casts a day by using your or using some rage rounds, which is fantastic. We can also, like I said, rune strings of power give us more spells per day. Yeah, as a lower level spellcaster, we don't actually need very expensive ones, but they do kind of add up a decent chunk if you even get up to like those level threes even. But depending on how far you are in the game, you can definitely buy quite a few of these if we really need to. Um, but there's definitely a lot of routes we can kind of go with this. We can go harder into casting and kind of playing with like the enlightened Blood Rager build and stuff, and kind of sliding that into there. Or I think Hag has a pretty good bloodline for debuffing people as well. But there's nothing wrong with just kind of going all in on it. And I do think there's some other potentials things out there. There's like a bloat mancer build or whatever that's pretty good. I saw out there that kind of uses a lot of this stuff, and it's kind of where I learned the start of this. And then I kind of took it in a different direction on the next video I'm gonna go over. But um, this is mostly it. It's pretty simple. You're still a Blood Rager at the end of the day. It's just you have some really good capabilities to just Nova on people and do very big damage when you need to. Only, like I said, downside, just not as many spells as you would like. Can be a bit rage around hungry, and fire is pretty commonly resisted, but you also still just do everything that a Blood Rager still does. And you can also trade out some other mutations as well for getting like intensifies and stuff or whatever for free based on like your strength or your charisma. So we can make those fireballs go beyond. And we do take intensifying spells so that we can make fireball go up to 50 to max level of 15 caster level if we get that high. So that is definitely also very solid as well. But we also can trade out our level 8 power, I think it is, for the intensifying one. That'll definitely help. But there's also one for doing spell resistance as well that we can trade out. That might be level 12, I think, on Blood Rager, but I can't remember right this second. So there is definitely some ways to get around some of that spell resistance piece as well, because we don't really have that built into here. We absolutely can though, and we can move some things around. Like you don't have to take spell perfection, and then you could trade out these 3 feats into other things. It's just nice, and then you can kind of go all in on like fireball, or you can take like a magic trick. Fireball is also really good and just makes it even more deadly. But there's obviously some other requirements there, and we need quite a few spellcraft ranks for either of these. But nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool build. I think it's really neat, and I love the aspect of the Blood Rager just becoming a just massive blasting caster. It is definitely a bit trickier on those spells, but there is a few heals around that. Like Echo Wing does give us some more casts per day at a higher meta magic cost. And yeah, this is basically the build. I mean, if people have suggestions, throw it out there. If they have other ideas, definitely some cool stuff. And I will be doing another build that kind of plays a little bit into this, but jumps more into an actual full caster. But I really love the play style of this, where you can kind of jump into melee, or you can just drop fireballs on people, and they are like very, very strong. So, yeah, I think that's all I got for today. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Sorry it has been so long since I have done a video. I do have some other builds kind of coming, but I have one more that I think is pretty interesting that I'm going to be playing pretty soon. So I'd love to do a video on it, and then I'll probably try to do some other ones. But I'll try to do some smaller videos so they're not super long and not hard to kind of keep track of. So thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and yeah, talk to you later. Bye.